just about to end this program, but it's so much we can talk about, and I hope that you've been helped by. And again, I say, if you recorded it, please show it to your child, or your children, or grandchildren, or whoever later on. It's called "Don't Let This Be You." It's a crime prevention program to keep your child or children out of jail. And every third Tuesday at 6 o'clock, you can meet Judge Crichton and Attorney Stamps at CCC. And you can take a tour of the jail. Your children can talk with the inmates. They'll be there to give, to answer questions and talk about, staying out of crime and not hanging out with the right people. Before the break, I was asked a question. I've heard parents, attorney stamps who are just baffled because one child succeeds and the other one gives them nightmares.
You know what? I think we could do all the social studies and research and on this issue as it relates to how siblings end up in different places, and I understand that because it's the same with my brothers and I. I like to say we all chose the law, just different sides.
Oh, I like that. Okay, we all chose the law, just different sides. Okay.
But a lot of it, when we come back to it, when we talk about it, I think it comes down to choice. It really comes down to choice in a lot of instances, and
so even with you with your brothers, what did you feel was different that you saw? Sometimes if you have an older brother, you say, okay, I don't want to go that direction. But then sometimes it's the younger brother.
I am the youngest.
Okay,
and for me, it was a situation where they set an example of what I didn't want to do.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I saw that early on. But I have to admit, Ken, I studied hard, but my brothers are a lot smarter than I am. And believe it or not, they're more intelligent. But again, I think it came down to decisions. And when I was coming up, it was just me and my mother and my younger siblings. At that time, they had my father, who was kind of a different influence than and may have influenced them in the wrong direction because he did his thing, his drugs and those kind of things. And I think at that time, it was kind of acceptable to do drugs and get involved in that kind of activity. There might be 7 years between me and my nearest brother.
Okay.
That may make a difference in the things we were exposed to. Again, I said, my mother was the only person that lived in the house with me when I came up because my father was already gone.
Right.
So, there could be many explanations,
right.
But some of it comes down to influence, and a good part of it comes down to choice. I think.
What do you see, Judge, after 20-something years? What do you hear?
Well, there is a little bit of a value issue. The values are not quite the same.
Sure.
And some of the young people, and I don't want to sound like some old guy up here talking, but I will be 59 this year, but there's a level of narcissism and I don't know, I'm not sure what else is involved,
right.
but there seems to be a lack of concern for each other and a lack of connection with each other. We have our cell phones, we have our laptops and all these electronic devices, but I'm not so sure we're better connected or more connected than we were previously. We're talking on the phone a lot,
right.
but usually about things that don't matter.
Right.
But I'm not so sure about interpersonal relationships and real connection.
Right.
And there's sort of a disconnect out there among some of the young people. I can see it.
Right.
And what they really want to do more than anything else is get on their cell phones and text and chit chat and all that kind of business.
That's a really great point.
And not really connect with school or with sports or with their pastor or their parents.
And that's the strangest thing, because I heard someone say just the other day, said, I hadn't talked to my child in a couple of weeks. I'm like, where's your child? Yeah, my child lives with me, but we just correspond or communicate through text.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
Thinking, we heard our mother's voice every day, all through the day. Even when they weren't around, we could hear it saying, "Don't do this or don't do that." But that's a really great point you make, that there's not communication now with parents because they're texting, so they never hear the voice of a parent saying, "Don't do this or don't do this." It's more or less, I text you and say, "I'm going here," and you text back and say, "Okay, whatever." And I think a lot of the technology has good in it, but I think there's also some bad.
Another thing about the technology too is that they have so much more opportunity to be exposed to bad things as a result of technology. The internet and this different culture of not only in the arts, but in almost everything that they see. I mean, there are things that are played on television that we would have never seen on television 30, 20 years ago. And it's commonplace for them to be exposed, and I think some of the stuff we see on reality television doesn't assist in you know, they're making decisions. It's glorified horrible situations, but you know, so I think there are cultural differences in the things that our youth are exposed to these days via the internet, via music, you know, or what's so-called music, and as the judge said, this, you know, although it may appear that we're more connected, there's this lack of. For example, one of my friends said, "Don't text me, Ron. I'd rather you write me a note to say thank you." You know, we've gotten away from what used to be the important things, or picking up the telephone and say, "Hey, thank you very much for whatever." You know, so it's very interesting, and I do agree with the judge that we are more connected but less attached. You know,
we've got more options to connect, but yet we're still not talking. It's more good. What do you hope this program will go? Because I just think you're doing a great job, and I know you say that it's expanding throughout DeSoto Parish and some other areas. What would you like to see?
Well, the concept is an excellent concept. I would like to see it spread throughout Louisiana even more, and I would like to see other states do what we're doing in terms of judges and prosecutors getting together to educate young people. We'll have of course that's endless work, because we have brand new teenagers every year, and so we will have an audience every year. But you know what, it has become a ministry for us. It's work, but it's a labor of love at the same time, and I believe that we're doing some good, because those who sit there and listen and hear from inmates as well, their awareness is heightened. It has to be heightened, and they walk out of there more educated than they were before they got there. So I know that it is an answer to our problem. It's perhaps not the only answer, of course, but it is one of the answers.
And they have to understand. You talk about reality and something, you know, even like TV shows. We got all these TV crime shows now. You don't get out in an hour. Your situation, if you mess up, your situation is not over in an hour. And you back home and all of that. That's TV. And sometimes you have to shake them to reality when they talk with these inmates that, you know, I got a long time to be in here. You know, I'm just starting. I got 25, 30 years, or even life. And sometimes their decisions will end up being, you know, the wrong decision can cost you life, and the pain that it causes their parents and the loved ones. I think children don't understand what they do. Yes, it's your life, whatever, but you're hurting other people. If they would just think about, we always say, think about your mama. What you're doing.
And we do. We address that.
If nobody else think about what you're doing to your mother. How, you know, you're causing hardship on her.
And it certainly has a devastating effect on a family member. For example, your mother or your father or your sisters and brothers. You know, if a young man goes to jail at age 15 or 16, it completely disturbs the family unit. It's never the same for anybody. And so it has a devastating effect on the entire family unit, and it matters. You can't go back and undo that.
Once you make those decisions. Are you working with the schools to try to implement something like this where schools can get more involved in doing it?
We have, and again, we have presented this program at school assemblies, Byrd and Loyola and others. When invited, we go. And typically, for me, it needs to be on a Friday morning. I do have that docket every day at the district court, and it's a fairly voluminous workload. But I try to make time when I can to do this, because we believe it's good work.
I think it should be a field trip. I mean, just like they go on field trips to other places. And we know we think about field trips being fun, but sometimes a field trip needs to be something like this that's going to educate those children to later on to think about the decision they make. And sometimes decisions, there are always consequences to your decision. I mean, there are good consequences if they're good decisions, and there are bad consequences if there are bad decisions. So I think, you know, that should be considered. But I think the program is awesome, and for you to come up with something like that, because most time, those people out there watching, they don't think a judge or an attorney is concerned about anything but sending their child down the river, so to speak. But to make the initiative to say, I prefer not to do that.
Absolutely.
I prefer to let your child know that if he or she does this particular thing, this is where they're going, but they don't have to. And, it's an alternative, it's an option to do that. So to do that, I think we can applaud that you're not just concerned about sending someone to jail. I'm sure that doesn't make you happy. Most time people think attorneys or judges are happy doing that. I'm like, well, they have to uphold the law, but they prefer not to, but that's the law.
Right, we are sworn to uphold the law and to apply the law, and we do it. And again, my philosophy has been tough on crime, but also at the same time, I believe in crime prevention through education.
Right.
That is a key factor.
Right, okay. So somebody who's watching, what phone number would they call?
Well, they can call Andrea Samuel, and I do have that right here. It's 681-0735. Andrea Samuel at the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office Regional Training Academy. She can get the person registered, and again, we just need to know our number so that we have plenty of chairs available and the room is not too jammed.
Okay, so please do this. Again, I say it's the third Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock at CCC, Caddo Correctional Center.
That's correct.
And it could be a group, or it could be just a mother who wants to bring her son.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
Correct.
Or if some teenager out there wants to come and bring a bunch of friends, then they just need to call.
That's right.
The Caddo Sheriff's Office, if you can't remember that number, though we have it up, and just say, I want to bring 4 of my friends. We'll ride together and take a tour and get more information about staying out of trouble.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
And we encourage church groups too.
Yeah, right. Like I said earlier on, that our church group youth came and they enjoyed the visit, but they also, I think it put some fear into them that this is not something a place that I want to be.
Right.
The preacher talk about hell, they don't want to be there.
Right,
But
right.
that's like hell on earth there.
right, right,
When you spend your life and you have some, and I tell them all the time, now you're in jail, somebody's telling you what time you get up, what time you eat, what time you go to bed. You don't want a life where you can't live your life the way you want to live it, So it's a lot to consider that when you make a mistake that it could cause you to be under control, someone else controlling your life for good. Thank you all, Judge. I appreciate your attorney. I know you all are busy, but what you're doing is a great work, and it is a ministry. So thank you all very much.
It's our pleasure.
That's our show. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that you gleaned something from this show that you can share with the young people in your community, your church, your children, and your grandchildren. We'll see you next time here on Citywide TV Presents.